Whether it's bad planning, bad luck, bad timing, or bad inventions, well-intentioned bad decisions have plagued history for thousands of years. Welcome to Historic Hindsight. Hello and welcome to another episode of Historic Hindsight. I'm John, that's Tom, and today we're going to talk to you about sheep.
That's right, Johnny. Sheep on the Falkland Islands, and specifically, we'll eventually get to the Falkland Island War, which was not about sheep, but
it wasn't
sheep on the island. So, no, well, the war wasn't about the sheep, no, but there definitely were sheep on the island. So, we'll just jump right into it. A little bit of background before we get into the war. A little bit of background history about the Falkland Islands, and some fun facts for those at home. We're gonna have a geography lesson here. So, the Falkland
I was gonna say, where are they?
They are about 300 miles south of the South America's most southern coast. So they're south. They're like
South
America,
Antarctica.
South. Yeah, they're almost in the Arctic. Yes, yeah, they are close.
Huh.
Its population as of 2016 was a mere 2,800 people, spread out, over 4,700 square miles. So basically, each person gets almost 2 square miles to themselves. So that's.
All right, that's not bad.
Not populated. Yeah, that's a very not populated series of islands. There are 2 large islands and some smaller ones around it.
Okay, and then so there was a war eventually over these islands. I assume over possession of them.
Multiple times it actually comes up to almost being war, and then definitely there was a war over it. The GDP as of 2013 was $228.5 million, which means that in 2013, the Falkland Islands were the 4th highest GDP per capita, with each citizen averaging $96,962. Whoop whoop!
Good for them.
And most of that, Johnny, is actual sheep production.
Well, see, there you go. It is all about the sheep. It's a primary export. I imagine they make good wool.
I imagine they make good wool. They are, as of now, an internally self-governed country, but are militarily protected by the UK and fall under the British Empire, as they are considered a UK overseas territory. So this is one of the few provinces of colonial UK territory that hasn't rebelled against the crown. Actually, they vote to stay with the crown.
Successfully, I imagine.
Well,
they haven't.
Yeah, successfully. Yeah. Although Argentina is still going to dispute this up until this day, claiming that the Falkland Islands are their islands, which is what eventually will lead to the Falkland Wars. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, it would make a lot more sense for them to have them. Let's be honest; they are right next to it.
Argentina's
right there. Throw a stone.
And that's their argument. We're closer, so totally should be ours. So discovery of the Falkland Islands happens initially by England in 1690 by an explorer named John Strong, who was on his way to Peru searching for a sunken boat and kind of got lost. And hey, there's some islands, and it's really miserable weather here.
How about that?
Fish, so it's kind of like London. So hey,
it's just the southern bit of it.
But I say, discovered, and it's a complete and total lie, because they were just the first ones to write it down and say, hey, these islands are here. I'm going to write it down in my book.
Was there an indigenous people? No, these were just uninhabited islands. Okay.
Yep.
So they would have actually discovered them, not normal white person discovering.
Yeah. There are European claims that go all the way back to the 16th century that say, like, Spain and France say that they discovered it first, but they didn't bother writing it down.
Well,
there were also
doesn't count.
Yeah, doesn't count. And there were also an indigenous population called the Fuegians, who were believed to have discovered the islands back in prehistoric times. So,
okay, but they were long gone. For whatever reason,
they're like, they're long gone by the time white people come, and not one of those long gone like the white people came and they all
because
died
of them.
Like, no, long gone because they're like these islands are these guys are.
We actually had nothing to do with it this time, guys.
Yeah, we had nothing. Yeah, nothing to do with it this time. The islands remained uninhabited until 1764, when France decided to put up a colony named Port Louis. In 1765, English decided that they wanted to. They remembered the island, and they're like, "Hey, we're going to go back."
Yeah,
but you have to keep in mind there are 2. Yeah, there's like the East Island and then there's the West Island, two separate islands.
Okay.
And the French go off on the East Island and found their little port there, and the English found their port on the West Island. They kind of forget, like, they don't know each other exist for a long time, so for the first year they're like just doing their own thing. And then Spain decides to come around and say, hey, look,
Uh-huh.
the Pope told us that all this land along this parallel line is ours, so these islands are ours. And France
Just
is like,
because
all
the
right.
Pope said so?
I guess the Pope said so.
That's it.
And France is like, listen, I'll give you my port, but you're going to have to pay me for it. And Spain was like, okay, here you go. So France is like, okay, all right, well, these kind of shitty, rainy islands, here,
Yeah,
have them.
I mean, they just went and took land and then sold it to somebody. Like, that's 100% profit.
Yeah,
That's a
took land,
that's a good
sold
move.
somebody. That is a very good move. Now, by 1770, Spain learned that English was on the island, so they go over to the English and they say, hey. The
Wait a minute,
Pope
we're
said
here.
this is ours.
Yeah.
You can't be here. And the English
You guys
said,
haven't heard about the parallel?
we wrote it down in 1690 that we found it, so totally ours.
Yeah.
Come and take it. So Spain came and took it.
I was going to say, now I can see where the conflict is arising from.
So we've already got some conflict going in 1770s. So in 1771, Port Egmont, the British colony, it gets kicked off by the Spanish. They just go in there with guns and say, "Nope, ours now. Leave."
Yeah.
English go home, cry to mommy and daddy, who then come back down to Spain and say, "Hey, look, do you really want a war? Like,
Yeah,
is
you
this-
can't do
is this
that.
how this is
Yeah,
gonna-
we
is this
run
how this
things
is gonna
right
go?"
now. The sun's never setting on us, I imagine, by that time.
So Spain goes to France and say, "Hey, look, remember that colony that we bought from you? Yeah, the English kind of were there, and you kind of failed to tell us about that. And I know that you don't really like the English, so do you wanna team up and
Have
have
a
at
little
it
war
with the
with
English?"
them? Yeah.
And the French are like, "No, that's that's expensive. We don't really. We've done it before,
Yeah.
a lot." And it always
Hasn't
costs
gone their
more than
way.
we think.
Yeah.
It always costs more than we want it to. So can we just we're just not gonna. So Spain goes back to England and says, "All right, listen, you can have your colony back. We're sorry that we kicked you off by force, but it's still our island." And the English were like, "No, it's our island, so we're gonna keep it, and we're gonna go back and live on it." But in 1774, the English decide that the island is no longer worth their economic or strategic interests, as American colonies are starting to heat up with our
they're
little,
finding. Yeah. Okay.
our little.
So they got distracted. They
tea
had
parties and
more important things to start dealing with than a couple of islands in the South Pacific.
Exactly. No, not South
North
Pacific.
Arctic. Where are we?
Yeah, North. The South Pacific.
Well, the
would be
Pacific
like
goes
Hawaii.
on what?
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
that'd be
like Hawaii.
that's
No,
on the
that's-
northern
that's
hemisphere
Hawaii.
still.
The
Then
Pacific?
south.
Yeah, okay. So the South Pacific is like Australia. I don't know. It's the Falklands are not in the
It's
South
between
Pacific.
it's between those and South America, and then there's
I
the
don't even know what-
Pacific there, and then the Atlantic, and then the Arctic comes up underneath it. It all kind of
Whatever. All right.
down there.
Whatever. Anyways, they're the islands down there. So the so the Spanish are like, all right, listen. The English are gone now. They're dealing with the Americans, so the island is now ours. So we're going to take it over. As I go over to take the English side, I do notice that the English had left a plaque that said that this island is property of King George III. They left it, took their entire colony and left, but they left a plaque that said, "Oh, property made in England."
It sounds like a label. Like they made a label, stuck
Yeah,
it on the
they
island,
did.
and now that is officially theirs. It's better than a flag. It's a plaque. It's more permanent.
It's a plaque.
Some would
Yeah,
argue.
it is more permanent. So the Spanish actually wind up taking over the whole island and turn it into a prison camp because
Oh, why? I mean, that's what you do with islands far away, right?
yeah, it's now a prison camp. But the Napoleonic Wars kick off in 1806, and Spain now has more important things to do than worry about a tiny set of islands down in the Arctic or North Arctic,
Wherever
or
we are.
wherever we are, down off of the coast of South America. So they also, too, kind of abandon it. And so at this point, by 1811, the only thing that's left on the island are a bunch of, ex-English who decided not to leave, a bunch of ex-Spanish cowboys who were like, this is pretty good farmland for my cows, so they're still raising their cows down there.
Yeah.
And a bunch of fishermen who are like, all right, we have a country
Good
now
fishing,
that's not
yeah.
run by anybody, and we can do whatever the hell we want in the true land of the free. Because who's there to tell us? All the great dictators have now left. They're all fighting their own wars, leaving us alone.
And I imagine all of these groups of people are just living all their lives happily. Yet nobody cares about the other people,
just doing,
right? It's just everybody's
doing
their own thing.
they're all just doing their own thing. Yeah. So now enter Argentina, or at this time, Buenos Aires, which is like pre-Argentina, but they will become Argentina. In any case, they discover the islands in 1816, full of feral cattle and rape for fishing, and they go, you know what? That's like right off of our coast. We can almost throw a rock and hit it. So we're going to go ahead and take it.
Yeah, easy transport back and forth.
Yeah, so they find this German explorer named Louis Vernet who decides to go up to Argentina and say, hey, look, it's right off your coast, so this surely must be owned by you. He also goes to the island and reads the plaque that says, hey, owned by the English. So he goes to the English and he goes to Argentina and says, hey, listen, there are a lot of feral cattle here.
Yeah.
There's a lot of fishing here that I would like to exploit. So can I, pretty please, go ahead and open up an independent private business for cattle, where it's not owned by the English, it's not owned by the Argentinians. I'll just sell it to everybody. It'll be a little private owned independent business.
Okay.
And the English and the Argentinians were like, yeah, sure, have at it. Do your thing.
Whatever. Yeah.
Why not? As long as you sell to us, we don't really give a shit. And this is where the pesky Americans come in, because see, we won our war with the English. And now we're trying to
got a little cocky.
Yeah.
Yep.
We got a little cocky. We started exploring things, and we get a bunch of drunken American whalers that go down and see that there's a hell of a lot of whales right off this island.
No.
So they start doing the American thing, getting
resources.
Drunk.
Let's take them. They're ours now.
Loud parties. And so they set up right off the Falkland Islands, which really pisses off Vernet, who's like, you're scaring away the fish. You're giving my cows anxiety. So he goes back to Buenos Aires, to Argentina, and says, hey, look, these Americans are kind of annoying the shit out of me. Could you, I don't know, pretty please start a war with them so that they would, leave? And sure. Argentina's like, no, but here's what we are going to do.
Not the bear they want to poke.
No, they're like, here's what we are going to do. We're going to give you some cannons, and we're going to make you the military and civilian governor of the Falkland Islands, and do as you see fit.
Oh.
So what Vernet does is he decides that shooting and capturing the American whaler vessels is the appropriate thing to do, which he does.
Does he have military background of any sort, or does he just kind of get, like, how would one know how to go about capturing a people? Was it just in Europeans' blood back then? Like, is it something that's been taught out of us over generations? Jesus.
I guess, I don't know. I mean, point a cannon at a boat and shoot it. I mean,
I know, but then the logistics of what to do afterwards, it's just too much for me.
Well, he didn't think it all through, because the crazy American whalers, they don't like getting shot at, and they don't like their shit getting taken, so they go back to America, who then sends down the USS Lexington to calm things down in the region in 1831. And by
Did it calm things down?
They set up outside of Vernet's colony and just bombard it and
there it is. Yeah, that's what you do.
America.
Well,
but America doesn't like.
You can't get riled up if you're dead.
Yeah, you can't get riled up if you're dead. But they don't take over the island or do anything else like that. They're just like,
all right, shot him and that's it.
Problem solved. We killed. Yeah. we destroyed your colony. Then what are you gonna do about it?
I believe we've sent our message. Way. Yeah, they sent a message.
Message sent. Message received. So, Argentina and Buenos Aires, they're like, whoa, not cool. So they decide to try to set up a military garrison on the island to ensure that future Americans or future foreign interests don't come into the island to try to take it over.
Now, why are they upset, though? Because they literally told the guy, you're commander of the Falkland Islands, and he fought his little war. What are they doing getting involved now?
Well, because, the Argentinians want the island for whatever reason. I mean, there are cows there, so we can do some stuff with some cows, Johnny. And but the English, at this point in time, their wars with the colonies over. We've had their second war with us, which is over. They're now kind of at peace with the French, and they kind of remember, hey, those islands, we like those islands. And they hear that the Americans had gotten to a little skiff with some crazy German that was down there. And they're like, what? We can't have that. This island is our island. We left a plaque. Clearly, people aren't acknowledging the fact that we left this plaque. So they get a bunch of boats, and they go back down there and
with a bigger plaque, I assume.
with a bigger plaque, they go back and start taking over the government. There is a mutiny on the island because the islanders, they don't really like the Argentinian government coming in to try to set up a military barracks because they've been living in peace and harmony and not having to deal with any foreign interest in their little world, their own little independentness. So they have a mutiny against the barracks. And when the English come, they're like, "Hey, the English are here!" So at least they bring sheep, which the English do bring sheep. They bring sheep.
Great.
So,
see, there we go. And now I didn't lie at the beginning. There's our sheep reference.
Sheep. No. So the English kind of come back. They fully exert their power back in 1832 and peacefully tell the Argentinians to kick rocks.
Yeah.
The British use the island mainly for ship repairs and for massive wool exports because the Scottish get involved in.
It's cold in Scotland.
It's cold in Scotland. It's cold in the Falkland Islands. Sheep kind of dig it. They get a lot of
wool sweaters, yeah.
So up until basically from the 1830s up to the 1870s, it is a way station for ship repairs. It is a way station for like a ship recycling yard. And it's also a trade center for wool, cows, that kind of thing.
Sure, okay.
It's kind of the place to go.
It's because little trading post type deal. It's a truck stop in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah, if you want to, let's say you're an American and you want to trade goods from New York to California, you have two options by the 1860s, 1870s. You can drive it by train, by the 1870s, you can go by train, or you can take a boat and go all the way down and around South America and back up to California, which is everybody's trade in the world. That's kind of how they have to do it. If you want to get from one end to the other, you got to go around.
Yeah, you got to go around it when it's oceans until the Panama Canal gets built.
Which, yep, you called it, Johnny. So
the
Panama Canal starts to, legitimately, the Panama Canal gets built, and it starts to screw over the Falkland Islands and their trade.
Oh, and then they built a bypass, and so, they're hosed now.
Yeah, they built a bypass, and now they're hosed. And by the 1870s, the English had already kind of started to abandon the island because steam engines are now a thing, and they're now on boats, and so boats don't really need the tall wooded masts, so it's not really needed for a repair station or a wrecking yard anymore. So the island kind of gets left to do its own thing through most of World War I and World War II, where it's pretty much just a bunch of English, Scottish, Spanish, French, old settlers that are down there to decide not to leave.
Went back to what it was before.
Cows, yeah. Exactly. It goes back to what it was before. So now we're finally getting up to more modern times where we're actually going to get into the Falkland War, Johnny.
Okay, so we are past World War II now, though, right?
Yeah, we're now past World War I, past World War II. During their world wars, it was mostly like a kind of a way station still. It wasn't like nobody was fighting over it. The Nazis didn't come and take it over or anything.
It just sat there.
It kind of just sat there. It sat there largely ignored. I mean, its population's never really been much over 2,000, and it never really will be much over 2,000 because its island's pretty far south in the middle, in the middle of nowhere.
So why are we fighting a war over it all of a sudden? And who I guess is another question. Is this our war?
No, it's not our war. It's the English and the Argentinians. So the Argentinians were always mad that the English came over and took the island over. So pretty much every year from 1830 all the way up into modern times, they had written a letter to anybody who would listen to them about, hey, that's our island and the English are on it and they won't leave.
I'm guessing nobody listened to them.
And nobody listened to them. But by the 1960s, many in the UK Parliament viewed the island as more of a nuisance than anything else at all. It's a barrier to trade in South America because the Argentinians are pissed, so that pisses off some of the other South American countries, and so they're like, it's really not helping us getting any trade down in South America. Sure. It doesn't really have any viable use to us at this point, so maybe we should just give it to them. Argentina is complaining so much that the UN in 1965 tells Argentina and Britain to negotiate an agreement between the two of them. Like, figure it out. There's two islands.
Yeah.
One of you take one, the other take the other. Yeah. Who cares? Split it in half. So the UN's like, yeah, okay, we really don't want it, so I guess you can have it. The problem is, every time they went to the negotiating table with Argentina, the Falklanders, the people who are actually living, Argentina. Anyways, the people who are living in the Falkland Islands were like, hey, we don't want to be a part of Argentina. Like, we don't.
Okay,
We
so
like
that's where
the
the rub.
English.
I was gonna
Like, we
say I
don't.
didn't see a problem with this yet, but now that's the
Yeah,
issue.
there's a problem. So they go, no, we don't like it. So from 1965 up until 1980, there's negotiations going on, and nothing ever gets accomplished because anytime there's any proposal made, the people who are actually living on the Falkland Islands are like, we don't like that. Nope, go back to the drawing board. And so they keep fighting.
Okay,
Now, in the
but real
meantime,
quick, when did countries start caring about the people on the in the land that they were arguing over with borders?
that's a fair point.
Like they divided all that shit up in World War II, and nobody cared about anything, right?
Nobody cared, yeah. Well, apparently at this point they're listening to the Falklanders. While all this is going on, there's a little thing called the Cold War going on, right, Johnny? Where the Americans are very concerned about the spread of communism. Now, in our fight against Red Scare. In our fight against communism, we go to small little countries like Argentina, and we're afraid that they're going to become communist because you know they're dirty communists that are speaking their propaganda in there. So the United States had this habit of taking the CIA and having military coups in these countries. And establishing our own military dictatorships, which
like putting up like a puppet government type deal. Are you saying that the United States did that?
Yeah,
but that seems so.
We kind of did in Argentina, Johnny, which led to a military dictatorship.
Well,
yeah, well, it led to a military dictatorship underneath Leopoldo Galtieri, who becomes the general and dictator and military leader of Argentina.
But I thought the United States went and spread democracy to these countries.
We sure spread it by funding,
installing a dictator,
a military dictator to overthrow the government.
But did we get what we wanted out of
it? Yeah. They become communists. So he overthrows the government, and this was a costly war to Argentina, and Argentina is now strapped for some cash. There's a lot of people who aren't so happy about all of a sudden having a military dictatorship. So the people in Argentina are like, hey, we didn't vote on this, so can we not be a dictatorship? And
they're like,
Leopoldo,
I don't think you understand how dictatorships work.
Yeah. Leopoldo Galtieri, he's all like, so the best way, if you're a leader of a country, to distract your angry population from the fact that there's a lot of you dead and in prison camps and poor and starving, is you create a war with another country.
That helps. Yeah, you find a different enemy. Yeah, another
enemy. Find a different enemy. So he finds the enemy in the Falkland Islands. He goes, all right, listen. The Argentinians for the last 100 years have really, really, really wanted these islands back, even though they never really had them to begin with. But they really wanted them back. So I'm going to gain favor. Yeah, I'm going to gain favor by getting these islands back.
Okay.
And he's noticed now that the English have they had one basic warship that was kind of patrolling the Falkland Islands to keep it secure.
Sure.
Well, the English had pulled that warship out because at this point in the early 1980s,
they gave up the island. They're like, we don't want it anymore.
Yeah, I mean they still have it, but it's like
but it's your car you don't care about. Like you can leave it unlocked, and if it gets broken into, it's probably good, and you'll get the insurance, and it'll help you out.
So Galtieri, he's got the idea. The English are now gone. I can probably create a war, get the Falkland Islands back, get everybody on my side, and the English, who didn't really want the island to begin with at this point now, certainly won't give a shit about it. So they'll leave, and problem solved. I'll take the island over. They won't really care. Problem solved, right? So on April 2nd, sorry. Just that easy. On April 2nd, 1982, Galtieri launches Operation Rosero and sends 600 men to take over the Falkland Islands. The very few English Marines were going to, they were like, damn it, crown and country. We're going to fight to the last man. And then they realize there's nothing but sheep on the island. After a couple of shots and a couple of dudes get hit, they're like, you know what? No, good, take it. Have it.
Yeah.
Now, what Galtieri didn't anticipate was that Margaret Thatcher is now the head in England, and she's got a reputation to uphold, and there's a little thing that was discovered off the island that was important. What is that little thing? Oh yeah, oil. Oil's discovered off the island, so now the island has value again. So Margaret Thatcher goes, no, those are our islands.
Yeah.
We're going to defend them.
And how did America not get involved in this?
So we'll get there. We'll get there. So what she does is she creates a exclusionary zone around the Falkland Islands. Says no boats can go in this zone, and if you do, we're going to sink them. And sends 100 boats of the Royal Navy down to the Falkland Islands in response to Argentina taking over. The Americans go up underneath Ronald Reagan, go up to Margaret Thatcher and say, hey, whoa. That's our military dictatorship.
Yeah,
Can you just
we
let
installed
them have
it.
the island? We installed it. Can you let them have the island? Like, pretty please. It would make everybody happy. And Margaret Thatcher's like, no.
Well, no,
oil.
yes. I'm sorry. Did you not hear about the oil that they found?
We would like that oil. So America's like, okay, cool. I guess we'll stay out of it. But hey, you guys don't like communists either. Here, we'll stay out of it if you promise to keep fighting communism. And here's some M16s for you to go off and do that. So,
okay.
And then also it's Reagan, so he kind of forgets that he's not on a movie set, so he just gets bored and walks away anyway.
At that point, they had a plaque. You're not going to win that debate.
There was a
We had
plaque.
just
There
been
was a
over
plaque.
some wars and stuff, and like we were teamed up in the last one, so we don't want to get involved with England.
Now there
again.
are a few logistical problems with England being in a war with Argentina, which is like damn near on the opposite end of the globe.
Yeah.
How do you get men and equipment down there? And yes, while they did send 100 military vessels, yeah, they do. And they do send 100 military vessels. There's they don't really have a lot of military vessels that would support an operation like that. So they wind up going to English commercial vessels and just seizing them and saying, hey, now, guess what, you guys? You're going to help us supply the English down in the Falkland Islands. So they take
like
commercial
container
vessels,
ships and stuff?
container ships and stuff. Yes, exactly. Fill them with supplies and start shipping them down there as well. The English will finally get to the Falkland Islands in May, like in early May, and right off the bat on May 2nd, kick things off by the British Navy sinking an Argentina cruiser named the General Belgrano, which kills the most amount of people in this whole war in one kind of sitting.
Did it go inside of the little circle? The exclusion zone or whatever?
No. That's the problem, Johnny. That boat was sunk outside the exclusion zone. So the British went down there and they're like, we're going to sink it anyways. So the UN the entire time, the great UN, which is the peace negotiator, which was created to stop war from ever happening again, when Argentina took over the Falkland Islands, they went to Argentina and said, you can't do that. And Argentina said, okay,
stop us.
What are you going to do about it? And then when the English sunk the Argentina vessel outside the exclusion zone, the UN went to Margaret Thatcher and said, you can't do that. You can't do that. And Margaret Thatcher said, stop us.
Yeah, like that's the thing. Is yes, these are things you can and can't do, but if you do them, what's going to happen? Like people are going to be mad?
Yeah, that's
the problem
so
with this.
323 Argentinians are killed in the sinking of this vessel. So it wasn't.
Wow.
It wasn't.
Yikes!
That's for This is 1980, guys. Like this is the 80s. This is within our lifetime. Well, mine and Johnny's lifetimes that this is happening. Almost. Yeah. Yep. So the Argentinian forces respond appropriately by having their air force immediately start attacking British naval vessels and
that'll happen.
Sinking British naval vessels.
Yeah.
So then England sends down an aircraft carrier to combat.
Right. Yeah. And then
the air-to-air stuff.
Yep. Okay.
And over the next couple of weeks, boats like the HMS Sheffield in England are sunk, and lots of planes are shot out of the air from both sides. And now there's a full-blown war going on where we have to decide what to do with all these sheep. In the interim, while the British vessels were coming down, the Argentinian forces decided it would be a great idea not only to dig trenches and bunkers and all that fun stuff like you would do in a war, but also to mine the entire island.
Yeah, well...
Because, you don't want those crazy British coming in.
Yeah. Good
so,
God. All they had to do was say Argentina could have had it, and then this would have...
they could have had it.
Come on.
But but oil, Johnny. So on May 21st, the English decided the land invasion is the thing to do. So they start their land invasion of San Carlos, and through heavy air fighting during this initial battle, the English do gain air superiority. The Argentinian forces never had a navy to speak of that would have combated the English. So at this point, now the Argentinian Air Force is kind of knocked out, and their navy is kind of knocked out. Those poor little Argentinian forces on the on the island themselves are kind of stuck and screwed.
Yeah.
But instead of just surrendering, no, they're good. We're fighting.
No, that's right. We're gonna die over this sheep island.
We're going to die over the sheep island. So the English are able to establish a beachhead on San Carlos, and essentially over the next few weeks, the war goes like this. You have fewer English special forces that are fighting the Argentinians, who are largely just a conscript army. So these Argentinians aren't a professional force; they're not highly trained. So the highly trained paratroopers of the English kick the living shit out of the Argentinians and cause high casualties over the next few weeks. On May 28th, the British would get 900 Argentinians to surrender at the Battle of Goose Green. And after this victory on May 28th, the English forces would receive 5,000 reinforcements from the 5th Infantry Brigade, and the British would start their assault on the capital of Port Stanley, excuse me.
Okay.
And this begins the final phases of the battle. So over the next few weeks, British forces are going to take over the mountains around Port Stanley, while the British Navy is going to bombard the city from the sea. At this point, the remaining Argentinian forces are getting hit from both ends. Completely cut off, completely surrounded, and
why have they not
surrendered
surrendered?
on June.
Okay.
Well, they're going to surrender on June 14th, and the war is now officially over. A 2-month-long war over a sheep island.
Feels like it should have been much shorter. Feels like it should have been like, I don't know, 2 days.
And that's kind of part of the aftermath, is that like the English get kind of not picked on, but like you fought what should have been a quick battle, because Argentina is not like a third world country, but they're not.
Nah,
they're not the United States. It's
world
not Russia.
superpower. Yeah,
it's not a world superpower, so it shouldn't have really taken you that long. It shouldn't have caused all those casualties. You should definitely have not have lost the boats that you lost.
Oh, no kidding. Yeah,
but you did.
They were ticked about that.
So we've got our casualty report, Johnny. We're aftermath. The casualty report. Like I said, 2-month-long war. The Argentinian army would lose 194 men, including 16 officers, 34 non-commissioned officers. Their navy would lose 341, and their marines would lose another 34 additional.
Okay.
Their air force would lose 55 people, including 31 pilots that were shot down. So that's planes shot down.
Yeah.
That's a lot of equipment.
Yeah.
For a total of 649 killed, 1,657 wounded. Again, the island's population as of 2013 was 2,800 people.
That's half.
And you lost
Casualties are half of that.
1,600 wounded from Argentina. The UK would lose 86 in the Navy, 27 Royal Marines, 123 Army personnel, including 2 officers and 14 NCOs, for a total of 255 killed and 775 wounded. So they took not as many casualties, but still quite a significant amount of casualties themselves. 19 civilians would also be killed during the war. Absolutely none of them died from an accidental landmine.
No, that wouldn't have made any sense at all. I'm sure they would just taken a walk around their island and, got shot randomly instead of stepping on a landmine and blowing up to bits.
After the war was over, the Falkland citizens were given their UK citizenship, being restored in 1983, and self-governing constitution was written in 1985. So our lifetime, Johnny, they've been a self-governing territory of the UK, so not really self-governing. It's like they're left to do their own thing until England wants something from them.
Okay, yeah.
Like oil. A democratic nation was restored in Argentina after this war.
Oh, well, that's
in
good.
1983. Because, free and fair elections that the CIA has never messed with.
No, and ever. I'm sure 90% of the population voted for whoever their current leader is. So that's great to have such overwhelming support.
Speaking of that, Johnny, Argentina still to this day claims ownership over the island, but in 2013, the people of the island held a referendum where they voted to see which side they would go with. And 99% said, we're sticking with the English. Only 3 dudes 3 dudes voted for Argentina.
See, I kind of actually believe that. Like, usually when you have 99% voting, it's like, well, there's something going on here. But no, that's yeah, you give me a choice, and I know which way I'm going.
I'm going with the English too, probably between those two nations. Now, even though the war was only 2 months, it actually is the longest military engagement between two industrialized air forces and navies since World War II. So this is our longest engagement in a modern military sense, I guess, or one of the longest engagements of modern military, which is hilarious, thinking that Argentina counts as like, a modern navy or a modern air force.
They're out here sinking ships and stuff. So
yeah, they did it. Those landmines, Johnny. Those landmines posed a threat for a long time, there's farmland that you can't use because there's landmine fields that still had to be cleared out. In the early war, or the early days after the war, there were actually 8 UK soldiers injured within the first couple of years from unexploded landmines that accidentally got discharged.
Yeah.
But Johnny, the last year, during quarantine, during COVID, during all of our traumas and trials and tribulations, we do have one success. On November 14th, 2020, just a few months ago, the last landmine was officially detonated in celebration in the Falkland Islands. They got them all, Johnny.
So like
they
yeah. I was gonna say, how do they know?
They did. But I guarantee you, we're going to read in like 6 months from now some poor little sheet that's just walking it in.
Yeah. Have you seen, by the way, those mine-sniffing rats that they have out in Africa? These things are incredible. They have rats that they have trained to sniff out mines, and because they don't weigh enough to set them off, they'll go out and find them and come back, and like they live for like 8 years or something, and they work for 6, and then they like retire them and give them like this awesome life afterwards. It's pretty wild. You should look it up.
I hope it's like a good retirement, like we do with like the police dogs and shit, where they get like
they give them like all sorts of treats and like a life of luxury and everything. It's pretty awesome.
Nice. You know what? Yeah, way to go, Africa. Get rid of those mines.
That's it for this week in Historic Hindsight. Thanks for listening. Be sure to subscribe, rate, and review, and join us next week when we talk about drugs.